It came without warning. Like a thunderclap on a clear day, the news swept through the city, catching everyone off guard. There were no rumors, no leaks, no subtle hints in the days leading up to it, just a sudden jarring shift in the air, as if the city itself sensed something was about to change. It was a quiet Monday morning, November 3rd, 2025. The streets of Detroit were just beginning to stir, the city's heartbeat slow and steady as workers made their way to factories, offices, and shops. The skyline, familiar and proud, stood against a backdrop of gathering clouds, unaware of the storm about to break. In a stark boardroom, David Carney, CEO of U.S. Steel, stepped up to the microphone. His face was grave, his words measured. He announced a historic cut in production, citing a catastrophic drop in demand, one that had blindsided even the most seasoned analysts. The culprit, he said, was the American auto industry, once the lifeblood of Detroit, now at the center of a seismic shift. The news hit Detroit like an economic earthquake. The city, already weathered by decades of ups and downs, felt the tremors immediately. It wasn't just a corporate decision, it was a blow to the city's identity, its legacy, and its future. Stock tickers plunged in a matter of minutes. On Wall Street, chaos erupted as traders scrambled to make sense of the announcement. Phones rang off the hook in offices across the country, as investors, suppliers, and workers all tried to understand what this meant for them. For thousands of workers, the news was personal, a sudden gut-wrenching fear for their jobs, their families, and their futures. Carney spoke of unprecedented market shifts, of global forces beyond anyone's control. He emphasized the necessity of swift, decisive action to keep the company afloat. But behind the corporate language there was an unmistakable sense of urgency, a recognition that something fundamental had changed, perhaps forever. For Wall Street, it was about numbers, profits, and losses. But for Detroit, it was about livelihoods, about the men and women who'd built their lives around the rhythms of the factory floor. It was about neighborhoods, schools, and small businesses that depended on the steady hum of industry. The auto industry was pivoting to electric vehicles, racing toward a future powered by batteries and innovation. Steel, once the unshakable backbone of American manufacturing, was suddenly in question. The assembly lines that had defined Detroit for generations were being reimagined, and the materials that built them were no longer a given. Carney's words signaled a rupture in that relationship, a paradigm shift in American manufacturing. The bond between steel and the automobile, forged over a century, was fracturing. It was a moment that would be remembered as the day the old order gave way to something new and uncertain. The silence that followed was disbelief. In offices, on factory floors, and in homes across Detroit, people struggled to process what they had just heard. The sense of shock was palpable, a collective holding of breath as the implications began to sink in. How could demand for American steel just fall off a cliff? Wasn't steel supposed to be the foundation of progress, the material that built cities, cars, and dreams? The questions echoed through the city, unanswered and unsettling. Detroit, a city intimately familiar with booms and busts, felt a chilling dread settle over its streets. The memories of past crises resurfaced, factories shuttered, jobs lost, families uprooted. But this time, the threat felt different, more existential. The very core of what Detroit stood for was being challenged. This wasn't a slow decline, it was a sudden stop. Like a train slamming on the brakes, the momentum of decades ground to a halt. The machines fell silent, the conveyor belt stopped, and the city waited, uncertain of what would come next. Carney's announcement was more than just a business decision. It was a verdict on American industry and Detroit's way of life. It was a call to reckon with change, to face the unknown, and to find a way forward in a world that no longer played by the old rules. For Detroit, the Motor City, the road ahead had never looked more uncertain. What caused this? A perfect storm of forces. The electric vehicle revolution, Trump-era tariffs, and a cooling global economy collided. EVs required different materials, replacing traditional steel with lighter alternatives. Tariffs aimed to protect U.S. steel, but made American cars more expensive. Automakers sought cost-cutting measures, reducing reliance on domestic steel. The economy slowed, interest rates rose, and car sales dropped. Automakers stopped buying steel, creating a brutal chain reaction. A technological shift, policy aftershock, and economic downturn hit at once. For U.S. Steel, the moment of reckoning was now. The rise of electric vehicles marks not just a new chapter, but a complete reinvention of the automobile as we know it. EVs are transforming the industry, pushing automakers to rethink every aspect of car design from the ground up. This revolution is about more than just swapping out engines for batteries. It's about reimagining what a car can be in a world focused on efficiency and sustainability. In this new era, weight has become the primary adversary. Every extra pound means less range, slower acceleration, and higher energy consumption. For electric vehicles, where battery efficiency is paramount, reducing weight is not just a goal, it's a necessity. Engineers are now on a relentless quest to make cars lighter than ever before. They're moving away from the heavy, traditional steel that has dominated car manufacturing for over a century and embracing innovative materials and design philosophies. Advanced high-strength steels and lightweight aluminum alloys are quickly becoming the materials of choice. These materials offer the strength needed for safety, but at a fraction of the weight, allowing for sleeker, more efficient vehicles. The Ford F-150 Lightning is a prime example of this shift. Its body is crafted almost entirely from aluminum, showcasing how even the most iconic vehicles are adapting to the demands of the electric age. But this transformation comes at a cost. Traditional steel mills, once the backbone of the automotive supply chain, now face the threat of obsolescence. Many are struggling to adapt to the rapid pace of change, finding themselves left behind as the industry evolves. Retooling these massive facilities is both expensive and time-consuming. It requires not only new machinery and processes, but also a workforce trained in the latest manufacturing technologies. The transition is anything but simple. While the EV revolution is often celebrated for its innovation and environmental promise, it also brings a hidden cost. Entire communities built around traditional industries are facing uncertainty as jobs disappear and factories close their doors. The demand for steel hasn't vanished entirely, but it has fractured. The types of steel and the quantities needed are changing, leaving some suppliers scrambling to find their place in this new landscape. For companies like U.S. Steel, this moment represents more than just a business challenge. It's an existential threat. The choices made today will determine whether these giants of the past can reinvent themselves for a lighter, leaner future or fade into history. The Trump-era steel tariffs aimed to protect U.S. producers but had unintended consequences. American automakers paid more for steel, passing costs to consumers or absorbing them. This put them at a disadvantage against foreign competitors. Automakers engineered cars to use less steel, accelerating the shift to other materials. The policy designed to boost steel demand ironically trained customers to use less. The Biden administration kept tariffs, but the damage was done. High prices incentivized a permanent shift in design and sourcing. Automakers diversified materials, becoming less reliant on traditional steel. U.S. Steel's decision to cut production isn't just a headline, it's a story that ripples through the lives of real people and the communities they call home. The impact goes far beyond the factory gates, touching families, neighborhoods, and entire towns built around the steel industry. Picture the factories lining the Rouge River, their smokestacks once symbols of prosperity. Small businesses, diners, hardware stores, and corner shops depend on the steady hum of industry. When the mills slow down, these businesses feel the pinch, sometimes struggling to survive. When Carney's announcement of production cuts came, it sent shockwaves through the supply chain. Layoffs weren't just a possibility, they became a looming threat for thousands, from assembly line workers to those who supply parts and materials. For every person working inside the factory, there are spouses, children, and local shop owners who depend on that paycheck. The ripple effect is real. One lost job can mean a family struggling to pay bills, a child waiting longer for a parent to come home, or a local business losing its best customer. The factory ecosystem is vast. Truck drivers haul raw materials and finish steel, maintenance crews keep machines running, and countless others, from cafeteria workers to security guards, rely on the plant's daily operations. When production slows or stops, the entire community feels it. Storefronts close, streets empty out, and a sense of uncertainty settles over the town. Conversations at the local diner turn somber as neighbors worry about what the future holds. For workers, it's not just about losing a job, it's about losing a career, a sense of purpose, and the pride that comes from building something lasting. The factory floor, once bustling with activity, now echoes with uncertainty. Senior steelworkers, many of whom have spent decades honing their craft, often earn six-figure salaries. These are jobs that are hard to replace, both in pay and in the sense of identity they provide. Younger workers, meanwhile, feel a deep sense of betrayal. They face tough choices: retrain for a new career, relocate to another city, or try to hold on as the industry changes around them. The steel industry is contracting and transforming. As jobs disappear, communities are left to pick up the pieces, searching for hope and new opportunities in the shadow of empty mills. The reaction to U.S. Steel's news was swift and sharp. Auto executives expressed concern but felt validated, caught in a bind. They need access to the best materials at the best prices. Loyalty to suppliers extends only as far as the bottom line allows. Union leaders and workers see it as betrayal. Tariffs were supposed to protect, but they accelerated change. A third-generation steelworker expressed despair over losing a way of life. The clash between global economics and personal reality is stark. Is this a temporary shock or a permanent transformation for Detroit? The economic slowdown is cyclical, demand will eventually return. But the shift away from traditional steel is permanent. Trucks and SUVs will still use steel, but the market is shrinking. The pivot to lighter materials, for EVs, is the new standard. Automakers have invested billions in redesigning vehicles. The challenge is to reinvent the economic engine of the region. The link between Detroit and traditional manufacturing is being severed. The path forward requires adaptation, investment, and difficult choices. Steel companies must innovate or face obsolescence. Workers need retraining for future jobs in advanced manufacturing. Government must create robust programs for displaced workers. Trade policies like tariffs need reevaluation. Incentives should focus on building future industries in America. Collaboration between industry, labor, and government is essential. The road ahead is challenging, but inaction is costlier. This is an American story affecting everyone. The steel and auto crisis is a test for the U.S. economy. It impacts car prices, quality, and availability. A strong manufacturing base supports prosperity across sectors. National security depends on domestic industrial capability. The American promise of a good life through hard work is at stake. The fate of steelworkers is tied to all workers in the economy. Our response will define the kind of country we want to be.